My Lord, it's an honour to follow the Right Reverend Prelate and to make my maiden speech in this place. I'd like to start by thanking the staff of the House for their warm welcome and my supporters, Lord Young of Cookham and Lord Gilbert of Panteg, who between them have been an almost constant companion during my career. I also want to thank my former boss, Theresa May. I had the honour of serving first as her Housing Minister and then, after I lost my seat in the other place, as her Chief of Staff, and saw at first hand her incredible resilience, her commitment to public service, and perhaps less commented on, her dry sense of humour. The deal which the bill before the House today implements is in large part Theresa's deal. Having spent 2 years by her side as she negotiated it, I felt I should speak in this debate, even if there is a convention for maiden speeches to be uncontroversial. I fear that is impossible on this issue, but if it is any consolation to your lordships, I tend to upset both sides equally. There are 3 changes to the previous deal, one at least partly for the better and 2 for the worse, in my opinion. 2 are to the Northern Ireland Protocol. First, the government has gone back to what the EU originally wanted, a Northern Ireland-only arrangement. The result is that goods will have to undergo customs checks when they are moved from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, creating a border within our single market. The scale of those checks will depend on the negotiations in the Joint Committee about the operation of the protocol that will get underway shortly, and I look forward to the Minister confirming how the House will be updated on those negotiations. Second, the arrangements in the protocol are now a default rather than a backstop. But, crucially, there is a way out of the arrangements if the people of Northern Ireland want it. And that latter point is a welcome improvement. The third change is to the political declaration on our future relationship with the EU. It now provides for a more distant relationship akin to Canada's. Again, the government has gone back to what the EU wanted at the outset of the negotiations. My Lords, I regret 2 of these changes. I think they are bad for our union and for our economy. However, I believe the referendum result must be implemented. People have waited too long already, and having spent 2 years telling people they needed to compromise to achieve that, I need to take my own advice. I will therefore be supporting the bill. But in my remaining time, I want to make 6 points about the negotiations on our future relationship that are soon to begin. First, we need to be honest with ourselves about how difficult they're going to be. Some seem to believe that the fact that we start aligned will make things easy. I don't think they would be easy even if we wanted to stay aligned, but the government doesn't. It wants the freedom to diverge. We are about to negotiate something completely unprecedented, an FTA that is not about removing barriers to trade, but agreeing when and to what extent they will have to be put up. Second, if we want to succeed in those negotiations, we need to understand the other side's position. I lost count of the times I was told the EU has a trade surplus with us, so it's in their interest to do a deal. Well, yes, but only up to a point. Their primary concern is preserving the integrity of their institutions, particularly the single market and the customs union. And what they mean by that, although they are normally too polite to say it explicitly, is that there has to be a cost to us leaving. Not because they wish to punish the UK, but because if you can leave a club, enjoy all of the benefits without any of the obligations, why would anyone stay a member of such a club? Which brings me to my third point. Now that we are definitely leaving, and we can stop refighting the referendum campaign, both sides need to be honest about the benefits and costs of different options. The more distant our relationship with the EU, the bigger the cost, but the more freedom we will have in the deals we do with other countries. Let me give the House one example. The government wants to end free movement. I agree. I think it was one of the main concerns about membership that drove the Leave vote. We will take back control of how many people come into our country, but there will be a cost in terms of the free movement of goods, of capital and of services. However, if we go further than that, if we decide we are not prepared to give any preference to certain EU nationals in our immigration system as part of a deal on services, and I should at this point draw the House's attention to my declaration of interest because I work for a number of companies that provide professional services, the cost will be bigger, but we will have more freedom to give preference to other countries. There needs to be coordination between the negotiation with the EU and the negotiation with other countries, because choices we make in one will impact the other negotiations. Fourth, I fear that we are in danger of repeating the mistake we made in the divorce negotiations. I understand why the government doesn't want to extend the transition period, but there simply isn't time to negotiate the entire future relationship, have it ratified by national parliaments, and for business to prepare to implement it in 11 months. The substantive provisions of CETA are 550 pages long. The whole thing is nearly 2,000. So as President von der Leyen has said, we are going to have to prioritise. The main risk, is not no deal, it is a very basic initial deal. And it is in our interest for everything to be decided in one go, because the moment that is no longer the case, we risk getting into a repeat of the divorce negotiations where the EU ensured its three priorities were dealt with first. My Lords, for reasons of time, I will miss out one point and just end by saying this. The EU also needs to learn the lessons of the last few years. It may feel that its approach worked and be tempted to repeat the playbook. There is a real danger that if it publishes a mandate in late February that closes down all of the options before the negotiations have even begun and seeks to sequence in its favour, the UK will not ultimately give in, but walk away. And both sides will lose out if that happens. Our countries have much in common and we face mounting threats. We need a relationship that works for both sides, that allows us to work together to deal with those threats. We shouldn't expect the EU to do us any special favours, but I hope they will see the bigger picture. History will judge us both badly if we get this wrong.